Hey everybody, Blugoblin here. Thank you for joining me for my comic book review for the beginning of beginning of June 2013. We're only a few seconds in and I already flubbed. Alright. I got a decent stash here to talk about. You know, 3 DC and all the rest are from Marvel. And after I film this review, I'm going to film a review for my main channel, Blugoblin01, in which I do my latest Midtown Comics stash, courtesy of Midtown Comics and my student, my good friend, TheMtVernonKid. Alright, we're going to start with DC and end with Marvel for this video. DC, we're going to start with Detective Comics number 21. That way I'm not covering up the cover there. That's a pretty sweet cover. Shadow Assassin. Now John Layman is doing the writing, but we got Scott Eaton on the interior artwork. Jason Fabog, I believe, did the cover, but Scott Eaton is doing the interior art in here, and his art in here is just simply amazing. Yeah, it's Scott Eaton. I wanted to double check, make sure I got that right. But this is the artwork that I remember from. This is the first time I've seen Scott Eaton's artwork since he did XFactor for Marvel, and to see him doing a Batman comic book is really, really something. I'm sure Scott Eaton's got a really big reputation, but I'm just saying the last thing I saw him do was XFactor, I believe. But this deals with an assassin, a girl that Bruce knew a long time ago, and they even tell you that these memories of the memories of this girl take place shortly after the Zero issue of Detective Comics. So yeah, it's pretty while back, and we also get the return of Harper Row, and Harper has a really good role in this book. She's still getting shunned by Batman. Batman keeps telling her, don't be doing this stuff. You're going to get yourself killed. Blah 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 blah. The same stuff he told her. A lightened up version of the same shit he told her last time these two met. And for what it was worth, I thought this was a really good read. I had fun reading this, but after reading this, I kind of felt like Bruce gained a little more respect for Harper, because he took something from her in this issue. She finds out about it, and then after the altercation with this assassin, he gives what he took from her right back to her, saying, here, you're going to need this, and you're going to need this, if you're going to continue to do what you're doing, I'm wondering, is this indeed leading up to Harper Row being the next Robin? Now, I know there are some solicits out there for an issue of Batman and Robin in which, all we see is a leg and a boot, and everybody's already suspecting that it's Damian and everything. I don't know. if they're going to cop out and just make another Damian or retcon Damian's death already, it's whatever for me. But I'm kind of expecting a swerve. I'm wondering if DC's going to screw with us and make us think that they're going to bring Damian back and instead make Harper Row the next Robin, or are they going to go with Carrie Kelly as the next Robin, or, like I said, are they going to cop out and just bring Damian back? And if they do bring Damian back, I just got to say this. So what was the fucking point of killing him off? For shock value? So we could feel sorry for Bruce? The dude lost his parents when he was 8 years old. How much more sorry can we feel for the man? Hell, he had just fallen in love. He gotten a girlfriend over in the Dark Knight series, and look what happened to her. I mean, DC, come on. I know Batman's a dark character, but does absolutely everything about him need to be so goddamn depressing? Sorry, I got off on a rant there. I apologize. But this was a really fun read. We get a peek at who this lady assassin, who Bruce knows. We get to see who she's working for, and I'm like, I wasn't really surprised. But I think there might be some people who might be surprised. We get a shadowy glimpse of him, but come on, look at it. You'll know. Look at this book. You'll know who it is. A good read. I recommend it. Okay. You see that? He's back, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, man. You're up. Silence! I'm about to speak. I had to try that. Yeah. Look, if you really want me to, I'll explain why I didn't show last week. I got pissed off that DC had to yet put Batman on another book, even though it was on my book, a book representing my world, Earth 2, yet DC continues to whore out Batman. I don't really care who this new Batman is. It's just, this is like the 12th or 13th book that he's got to be in. Jesus Christ, you're jerking Batman off. You're gonna jerk him dry. It's ridiculous. With that being said, I'm a man of my word. At least some people think so. I'm going to review this book. Earth 2, number 13. I gotta say, get a load of that cover with Captain Steel on it. That's great shit. Love this book. James Robinson, I'd like to hug you, dude. I'd love to hug you. Because this is some fine writing. Some mighty damn fine writing. Now, Nicola Scott's not on the book anymore. So we got Yildre Senar and Rob Hunter. Probably didn't get those names right. It is what it is. My bad if I got it wrong. I ain't perfect. Although I've been called perfect before. Anyway, on to the book. This book was really damn awesome. The story starts in Rio de Janeiro. There's a fire pit going off out there, but nobody seems to be affected by it so far. So the World Army, or at least one of the guys behind the World Army, has sent Captain Steel to investigate. Meanwhile, on the other side of the story, we got Shira, Hawk Girl, having her hands full with some apocalypse soldiers, and she gets help from the new Batman. Still, no word on who this new Batman is. Now, y'all heard my counterpart give his thoughts on his Q&A session, as well as his last comic book review. He thinks it might be Jim Gordon. I gotta disagree. I'm thinking it might be Dickie Boy, or it might be Todd, it would make a lot of sense if it was Todd. Because we got a Batman in here who uses lethal force, who was not afraid to use lethal force. My money is probably Todd from the Earth 2. It could be Dickie Boy. So, who knows? But I got my doubts that it's Jim Gordon. Maybe it is Jim Gordon. Maybe it's Jim Gordon Jr. But it's probably going to end up being somebody tied to the Bat family. But watch DC go ahead and make it Dickie Boy. Or they're probably going to say Bruce Wayne faked his death from the beginning of the series just as a fucking cop-out, just to jerk Bruce Wayne off even more. I would rather have Dickie Boy as this new Batman than have it be Bruce Wayne who simply faked his death and all that other bullshit. The story goes along pretty well. There's some good action. The artwork in here for what we did get was pretty damn sweet. I liked the pacing. The dialogue was great. Captain Steel, you know, I don't think he's cold-hearted. He just don't give a damn. You know, he gets respected by people before he does his scouting mission in Rio. And there's people coming up to him saying, I'd like to shake your hand. I got so much respect for you and everything. He's just like, let's just get on with this work. He says, look, I'm here to do what I got to do. I don't really care. He's like, fuck it. I'm here to do my work. Get the fuck out of my way, babe. You know, but he's doing it. He's saying that as politely as he can. And he's got some stones to do it that way. But the end of the book, the cliffhanger, holy fucking shit. The cliffhanger damn near killed me. I damn sure ain't gonna spoil this shit. Damn sure ain't gonna do it. The cliffhanger will surprise you. I promise. Because it sure as hell surprised me. Where the hell are they going from there? Where the hell are they going from here? And to think about it, I'll tell you one thing about the cliffhanger. Captain Steel barely escapes with his life out of that fire pit in Rio, saying they have to get away from her. It's a her that he got away from. But who is the her? I ain't telling you a damn thing. You gotta read this book and find out who he's running from. This was a really good book. It focuses mainly on Captain Steel and Hawkgirl with an appearance from the new Batman. This was really good. I gotta give DC props. I liked this book and I think you would too. Support Earth 2. Give us Earth 2 people some props. We need it. We need some love. We need some respect. Earth 2 number 13. Pick this shit up. You will like it. Bye-bye. Enchanting commentary from my Earth 2 counterpart, wouldn't you say? Well, you heard what he said. I somewhat, agree with his assessment. I too was really blown away by the cliffhanger in here. This was really good stuff. No disappointment at all for me. Alright. Lastly for DC, we're going with Green Lantern number 21. This is the first time we get a new writer for Green Lantern in 9 years. Say goodbye to Jeff Johns and say hello to Robert Venditti. And we got artwork from Billy Tan in here. And I gotta say, this was really good. Now, of course, I'm not going to compare this one book to Jeff Johns' entire 9-year run. Okay? And, look, I know I've dissed on Jeff Johns plenty of times, but give the man credit. He had an impressive run on Green Lantern. During the New 52 is when he started to get a little sloppy with it, but he did end with a bang. And we're getting a new beginning for Green Lantern. I would say this right here is definitely a jumping on point for new Green Lantern readers out there. This was really well done. Beware our power, it says on the book. The new The new Guardians have entrusted Hal Jordan with leadership of the Green Lantern Corps, while they have to go away and deal with something along with Kyle. I got to admit, that was that particular plot point felt a little bit rushed, but like I said, just a little bit. But still, for the storytelling that we got in here, it actually worked for me. And the Hal Jordan that I read in here, I mean, it was a little more loose, than how Jeff Johns wrote him. For the longest time, Jeff Johns did new things for the character, but for the longest time, he had Hal so stiff sometimes, always so serious. Yeah, he tried to make him so badass near the end of his run. But in here, he's a little more laid back. He's cracked in a little more wise cracks and everything. Whereas when Jeff Johns wrote him in Justice League, he made Hal look like a complete dick. In here, we get just a little part of that, but we still get the serious Hal that a lot of people love. To me, I like this Hal. This Hal works for me, especially during the scene between the very dramatic, tense scene between him and Carol. It was and things ain't going so well between those two. And when you read Carol's reasoning for why things aren't going so well, you kind of understand. And the shit hits the fan when the Green Lantern Corps headquarters is suddenly attacked by a certain someone, and I'm not going to spoil who that was. But I'm like, really? Him? Okay, go with it. Let's see what you can do. And shit ain't going so well for Hal his first day as leader. Earlier in the issue, he sends out some power rings to try and recruit some new lanterns. And the cliffhanger at the end of this issue, it wasn't a dun dun dun. It was an aw shit kind of cliffhanger. You know what I'm saying? It was just one of those moments you're like, we're gonna get some back. Oh, damn it! I loved this book. This was great. It was fun. It has been a long time since I've had fun reading an issue of Green Lantern. Not everything was so damn serious or hardcore or dramatically tense or all that. This was more laid back. Hal was a little more loose. The action was good. The dialogue was good. The artwork flowed very well. And all the twists and turns that we went through in this one book, I really enjoyed. Is this book better than Jeff Johns' entire run? Of course not. But for the very first book by Robert Venditti, I gotta say, thumbs up. I'm really impressed. This was good. Alright, we're going on to Marvel. Marvel, we're starting off with Age of Ultron, Book 9. We're almost done with this. Brian Michael Bendis is doing the writing. Now, let me see if I get this right. Okay, we got, for the present artist, we got Brandon Peterson. And for the past artist, we got Carlos Pacheco. Okay, because there's several different time periods in here again. Now, just take a look at that cover. I'm going to tell you right now that doesn't happen. Well, wait a minute. I'm wrong. That does happen. Sorry, I just spoiled it. I was fixing to sit here and tell you that this doesn't happen in the book, but wait a minute. I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, it does. But that's all I'm going to say. Which Logan stabbed which Logan. Now that I'm gonna leave it up to you to read this book and find that out for yourself. But what this basically was Wolverine from the Age of LeFay, I think is how they put it in here, in which Morgan Le Fay and Tony Stark are at a war with each other and everything. He leaves that time period and goes back to the past to try and stop himself from killing Hank Pym. And when he gets there, when Logan gets there, because this issue started with right where the last issue left off, with a humongous holy shit explosion that would make Michael Bay cream in his shorts. But Logan recovers from the explosion, of course, with his healing power and everything. But when he goes back in time to try and stop himself from killing Hank Pym, get a load of what he's wearing. Hot damn, you talk about nostalgia. And I loved his reasoning for it. It was great. But all in all, the scene with the two Wolverines and Hank Pym, it gripped me. I was entertained. It's like the character development seemed to fit just fine, especially with Pym. Sue Richards joins the fray, saying, saying what she needs to say in the story. I'm not going to spoil those things that she said in here. But at the end of the book, you're wondering to yourself, did they do the right thing? Is everything going to be set back to the way it was? We don't know. Right now we don't know. We'll find out in the next issue. But overall, I thought this was really good. I think some of the parts that were serious came off a bit too serious to the point where it was kind of made you want to snicker at it a little bit, especially, the arguing between the two Wolverines and the Hank Pym. I think Marvel was trying to go for the whole scene, trying to be 100% serious, but at the same time you're thinking, okay, this is some hokey shit. I mean, you gotta chuckle at some of it, and it was what you'd come to expect. But one thing I will say about the ending is, the ending made me laugh with Hank Pym. The ending with Hank Pym, thinking about it right now makes me want to chuckle. Especially who Hank Pym is with and the shit that he says. I'm sorry. I know it was, meant to be a moment where you're like, and this is the beginning of what will end us. I think that's what they were going for, but it was silly to me. I loved it. This was a good book. It just wasn't perfect, All right. Next up, all new X-Men, number 12, Brian Michael Bendis. Dude, I wish I could hug you, man. This was so good. The all new X-Men meet the Uncanny Avengers, and young Cyclops, young Scott Summers from the past, meets Alex Summers for the very first time, but he knows who it is, and I was just like, wow. And to see, now, I will say this doesn't happen in the book. They meet each other, but they don't blast each other. And I'm like, why would they bother to blast each other anyway? Because their powers don't work on each other. Remember, Marvel? But despite all the questioning and all the trauma that's going on between the original X-Men being in the present and all that stuff, Alex got a kick out of seeing young Scott. Even to the point where he's like, I love you, man. And it was great. It was good to see the two Summers brothers actually getting along, and I thought that was so refreshing. But the one character that stole the show was again Jean Grey. Oh my God, Jeannie, my sweet Jeannie, what is wrong with you? God, I gotta give Bendis credit on this. He did a magnificent job painting her as, with his writing, characterizing her as a reckless rookie. She reads a certain someone's mind and just completely goes ballistic. And when you see what she reads, you kind of understand that she has every right to be pissed off. and it was so well done. I was on the edge of my seat, not literally, but I was on the edge reading this. I really had a blast with this. We're learning more about. We're also learning more about Mystique, Lady Mastermind, and Sabretooth, and what's the word I'm looking for? Their alliance. Alliance. So hard to think of that word. But to me, the best moments of the book was Jean, and I just Jesus. I'm seeing it coming. Jean's gonna go psychotic again, and it's not gonna be good. Especially, because the writing and the artwork in here. Stuart Imanen's artwork is fantastic. And they did a really good job of making her look insanely powerful. Remember, she's a Class 5 mutant. I'm just wondering how much of her power are they gonna flush out of her as this series progresses? I am really excited on where they can go with my beloved Jeannie. It just wow, just simply wow, and I got a bit of a giggle at the cliffhanger, but I'm like typical supervillain style gloating, I guess, and it was good. I had fun with this. I mean, Jean's moment was very dramatic, but everything else, I didn't really see that many flaws with it. I mean, sure, this book wasn't perfect, but for what it was, I had fun with it. It was a great read. I give Brian Michael Bendis and Stuart Imanen the thumbs up. Y'all, both of you guys did a fantastic job with this. Everybody who works on this book, you did a great job. I'm really impressed. Keep writing this book. Keep writing this series like this, and you'll have a guaranteed buyer from me, no questions asked. All New X-Men, number 12. Do yourselves a favor. Get that book. Get the back issues. Get the series and trade if you have to. Get on board with that series. You will not regret it. I promise you. Alright. Moving on. Fearless Defenders. Number 5. Let me hold it like this so you can get a good look at that. Look at that. Fight. Now, I seem to remember an issue of Secret 6 did a similar thing like this with a cover like this, all Mortal Kombat Street Fighter style and everything. But we get some additions to the team, to say the least. But one thing I'm really loving about this series is the way each issue starts with Misty and Valkyrie talking to each other to sum up what's been going on in the story so far. This is awesome. Please, Marvel, do every issue of this series like this, and I will not complain. This is actually very original for this, and I think it's a blast. I get a hoot out of it every time they do it. It's just great. But I gotta show off. I have to. I'm such a nerd. I gotta show off this big 2-page spread. Get a look at that, if you can. Get a look at that. Holy shit. Now, isn't that awesome? We get a lot of characters that a lot of people are familiar with, but we also get some characters that I don't think too many people know about unless they're really hardcore fans. But we get, I'm going to list them all off. We get Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew. We get Black Cat. Oh, Felicia, it's good to see you. We get Tigra. We get Hellcat. Finally, we get some Hellcat in here. We get She-Hulk, we get Elektra, of course we get Misty, and we got, Annabelle, who I swear is still crushing hard on Valkyrie. I feel so. I'm rooting for this girl. Go for it. I'm rooting for this chick. I want her to get serious with Valkyrie. Why the hell not? I'm all for that. We got Storm, we got Thundra, we got Black Widow, and we got Captain Marvel. But we also got Tarantula and Colleen Wing. Nice! This was nice. I felt like I had to spoil that. I felt like I just had to. And of course, once during the fight, Thundra, I believe it was Thundra who was looking at Annabelle saying, "Is anybody else confused on why she's here?" You know, and Valkyrie gives a simple answer. She's like, "She's here because she's Valkyrie." Yeah, that's kind of how the book was kind of presenting that explanation. Whereas we the readers know the real reason why she's sticking around. But another thing I have to say, look, I apologize. Big spoiler, okay? If you don't want to see what I'm about to hold up, close your eyes, and I'll tell you when to open them. But if you don't mind, or if you've already read this, then you know what I'm about to show you. Something happens at the end of the issue. Oh boy. Yep. Yeah, you ain't seeing things. Okay, you can open your eyes now if you bother to shut them. But wow. I loved this issue. I love this series. Cullen Bunn, please don't screw up. You have got a great thing going here. This is great. I had fun. This is about as fun as Scarlet Spider is. I'm getting a huge blast out of reading this. This was great. I really have no complaints. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but overall, I enjoyed the hell out of this book. All right. Every review has the dark spot. Kick-Ass 3 #1. Yeah, my student was right. I went through Kick-Ass 1. I went through Kick-Ass 2. I might as well get Kick-Ass 3. Hell, I got Hit Girl. Now, Kick-Ass 1 and Kick-Ass 2 I thought were really good. Hit Girl was also pretty good. This, I wasn't that impressed with this. I'm sorry. I gotta call it like I see it. Now, I'm going to stick with this series because, it's a mini-series, and it's, and knowing Mark Millar and John Romita Jr. will probably get an issue every 4 or 5 months. So it'll probably take them about a year and a half to finish this series. But for the first issue of Kick-Ass 3, I got to admit, I wasn't really that wowed with this. I really wasn't. I mean, I love John Romita Jr.'s artwork. A big John Romita Jr. Mark. But what this basically is, okay, Hit Girl's in prison. She's been taken into custody, as you saw in the Hit Girl series. Well, no, you didn't see that in the Hit Girl series. You saw that at the end of Kick-Ass 2. Excuse me. I got that wrong. Saw that at the end of Kick-Ass 2, and we're now here at Kick-Ass 3. Hit Girl's in prison. She left a note for Kick-Ass with a plan, bail her out, and he gets his buddies together to go bail her out, but they pussy out at the last second, and hell, Hit Girl even says that, "You goddamn bunch of pussies," and they leave her there. But they're like, we need to strategize more. We need to strategize more and get a foolproof plan on how to get her out and everything. But what really happened was they lost their nuts and they left. Pretty much it. And I'm like, Kick-Ass is trying to be the leader of Justice Forever and stuff like that, and some of the other heroes are slacking off. They don't give a shit. They just like the perks of being a superhero in the real world and everything. And the cliffhanger just seemed so underwhelming to me. It's like Kick-Ass thinks he's forgotten something, and then boom, there's the dun 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 kind of cliffhanger, and I'm like, okay, that came out of nowhere. And I'm not going to spoil what it was, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be some people who are ready and willing to read this, so I'm not going to give everything away. But the artwork was great. The writing was okay. The plot, in my opinion, the plot needs a little bit of work, needs a little beefing up, and the cliffhanger just did not wow me. my jaw didn't drop. It was so underwhelming. This first issue overall, at best, it was, okay. That was pretty much it. I mean, it was overall an average read at the very best. But I'll stick with it because it's only the first issue. Who knows, the rest of the story might, no pun intended, might kick ass. So there you go. Pick of the week. You probably knew it was going to be this. The Superior Spider-Man, number 11. Not only do we get Dan Slott, he did the plot, but the script, the writing goes to Christos Gage. Thank you, Marvel. You gave me the other writer I would like to see write this series. You know, Dan Slott's a great writer. There's no question about that. But with this issue, Marvel gave me what I wanted. They gave me the other writer I was personally wanting to see try writing Superior Spider-Man. They gave me Christos Gage. Christos Gage has written for Spider-Man plenty of times before, and he usually does a really great job with it. But one thing that I really loved was Giuseppe Camuncoli comes back for the artwork in here, and he did a great job. Oh man, where do I begin? Ock starts his day at in class. Ock starts his day in class, and he's just sitting there bored out of his mind because he's being taught by a former classmate of his who basically was tutored by Ock to get ahead. And you know, Ock's now in Peter's body. He's got to go through all this all over again. But at the same time, Ock's like, why is this asshole teaching me? If anything, I should be teaching him, you know. And he's doing it so Peter Parker can get his doctorate and everything. But I find this very, very funny. I mean, it's also kind of ironic that he has to sit in a classroom and take lessons from somebody who, in his mind, is intellectually far below him. I mean, far below him. And the guy even says, "Excuse me, Mr. Parker, am I boring you?" He said, "You'd have to increase." Well, I want to say what he actually says in here. Hang on, because it was great. Whoops, went too far. Let's hit the rewind button. Blah, 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 blah. He said, "You'd need to triple your IQ to even rise to the level of boring me, you blithering idiotic dilettante." Oh, God. You know, Peter was known for his quips and his corny jokes and everything, but to hear Ock talk like Ock in Spider-Man's body, in Peter Parker's body, that's funny as shit to me. Oh, I love it. But on a serious note, it's the day of the execution for Alistair Smythe, the Spider Slayer. And J. Jonah is drooling at the chance to see this bastard get executed because remember, the Spider Slayer killed his wife, Marla Jameson. And J. Jonah personally invites Spider-Man to attend the execution. And we get to see at the prison, we get to see how other supervillains are recuperating from their beatdowns that they got from the Superior Spider-Man, including, I'm going to give this away, including the Scorpion. In case you're wondering, no, Scorpion didn't die, but he doesn't have a jaw. He has to be fed through a specific kind of device to, sustain him. But they were not, he has no jaw. And Boomerang is in a body cast. They mentioned Screwball and her cohort, but they're not in this book, but they're just saying that they're recuperating somewhere else. And Vulture is blind. From all the, it's like, because of the injuries he sustained, including injuries to his face, he's blind now. I'm like, ooh. And you, in these panels where you see these supervillains recuperating and, struggling to sustain themselves with their massive, massive injuries, it reminds you that this is a Spider-Man that doesn't pull punches. And it was a very nice and simple reminder of that. And I really dug that. I mean, say what you will about me and about how much I'm digging this stuff, but I mean, the more and more we get into this series, the more and more Ock's personality is starting to shine in a bad way. Because remember, Peter's not in here anymore. So Ock has to rely on instinct, basically going, what would Peter do? Basically like that. Because not only is Peter not in here anymore, all of Peter's memories are gone. So he has no memories of Peter to access and go, that's what Peter do, and then go along with it. So he's got to basically wing it now for the rest of his existence as Peter Parker, as Spider-Man. And that's landing him in hot water at Horizon Labs and everything. But the real holy shit starts at Smythe's execution. And I'm going to end it right there. Because things don't always work out the way they plan. But what I will say is that Smythe thought he planned for everything. But in actuality, he didn't plan on Ock out-planning him. Because remember, one of Ock's original nicknames was the Master Planner. And it was done, in that particular nickname was properly represented in this book. But on more of a defensive, more of a defensive way instead of an offensive way. And I thought that was really, really nicely done. But that's, like I said, that's where I'm going to leave it, because we got a holy shit ending. I loved this book. The artwork was fantastic. The plot was good. The dialogue was great. The action that we got was really good. The character development, the characters were nailed very, very well. I especially loved J. Jonah in here. It was great. Solid 5. Do yourselves a favor, get this book. Fucking amazing. Alright, we're going to end this review with XFactor number 257. This is the end of XFactor, part 1 of 6. We are now at the final 6 issues of XFactor. And I gotta say this. In the little recap page on the front, it usually brings you up to date on what's going on. Okay, the Hell on Earth war is officially over. Guido is now in charge of all the hell dimensions, and if you don't like it, that's just too damn bad. Okay, taking a big complaint that I'm sure a lot of people had about Guido being the new king of hell at the end of the last issue, taking that complaint and just this particular book at the beginning was saying, you know what, tough shit. I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't like Guido being the new king of hell, but this, the beginning page made me feel a little bit better about it. You know what, you're right. Sometimes shit happens, but when we see something we don't like, usually we have to find a reason to bitch about it, because we're going to be honest. If we don't like a certain plot twist, we're going to speak our opinion and say, hey, look, we don't like that. We're not just going to sit here on our ass and lie and just jump on everybody's bandwagon and say, oh, that's the best thing ever. Because we're only lying to ourselves, and we're lying to the people that we're buying this shit from. But this book here was basically nothing but Madrix and Layla. And y'all know me, I'm, no pun intended, I'm burnt out on the hell stuff and everything. But in this issue, I'm still okay with it, because, Peter David still does a magnificent job here. Little boy gets a hold of Madrix here. He's still a possessed demon, Madrix, in here. And he says, I want you to go into the nether realm and bring back my mother for me, please. And Layla jumps in, And she's like, that's my husband, that's not a demon, you know, blah, blah, blah. You can't use him to do that, but I'm going to leave it at that. But nice. This was nice. It wasn't perfect, but I got to give Peter David all the credit in the world. He has been killing it with this series. Fantastic work. I'm going to be very sad to see this series go, but in some respects, I can understand, and I do respect Marvel's decision to go ahead and cancel the series after Peter David is done, because David has done such a great job for this series. You know, I honestly still cannot see anybody else writing this series other than Peter David. It probably, except maybe for, like I said in my topic video about this, you know, Chris Claremont, I think could do it. But, you know, it's all a matter of opinion. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are upset that the series is going, think it should stick around after Peter David is gone. But, you know, I have to respect their decisions, especially when it comes to this and to Mr. David. I really don't have any major complaints about this issue. I enjoyed it. It was great. It's what you come to expect from Peter David's X Factor. I really shouldn't say any more. Alright. Hope y'all enjoyed that comic book review. I hope y'all enjoyed the new intro. Subscribe to this channel, blugoblinX. Subscribe to my main channel, Blugoblin01. I just did a topic video about Scorpion being downloadable content for Injustice Gods Among Us. Go check that out. Don't forget about Dark Avenger Inc. Plus. Follow them on Facebook. Don't forget about my student, my bro, TheMtVernonKid. Follow me on Twitter or on Tumblr, please. You won't regret it, I promise you. Yep, that's all I got. So until next time, everybody, I'll see y'all later.